Hello my friends, John LaRuffa here with another Straight Up Solo, and in this episode we're going to take a look at Origin's first builders, but we are going to look at the UFOBot version of the solo game. So the game comes with the passive version where you basically play to beat your high score and to try to get at least 180 points, if not more, depending on some board conditions. And in that case, there is no active resistance or anything going on. You play by a simple set of rules, and it's a great way, I think, to learn the game solo, or even just to learn the game, period. I really enjoyed learning it that way, but I also noticed that I was far under the amount needed and suspect that in order to get to the amount needed, you really have to min-max this thing, and I didn't feel like going through that exercise, so I went right to the active version. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like, and then you can decide for yourself if this is a game that you are interested in from a solo perspective. Okay, and let me give you a brief rundown of what the game looks like as you set it up. But before I do that, please, again, I really appreciate it if you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so I keep building up my fan base. That means a lot to me. All right, so this stuff right here is what you have to print out in order to do the UFOBot. You have to at least print out page 5 and probably page 6 of the rule book that you can find, or the rule PDF that you can find either on Board Game Geek or on the Board and Dice website to how to play this. So you got to print this out, and what this does is this is where you're going to basically do your action selection. It also keeps track of samples, so to speak, that you get throughout the game, which will help determine its actions and its scoring. And you have this track right here, whereas on the turn that you're going to be taking for the UFO bot, the bot's going to roll all these dice, take the lowest value. If it's tied, it's going to go in this tie order. You're going to move this person around the track, and that's going to determine which of these actions they're going to take. Okay, and so we'll demonstrate that in just a little bit. And then the die is then put in the inactive area once it's used. Okay, so you have your own player board down here, and this player board is basically just a little slot to hold your dice, to hold these little holders for making your citizen dice become freemen, and that basically allows them to be played on the board. They can't be played on the board unless they're in these little chassis. And as you go throughout the game, you can invest more food to bring out more of those little holders, and those allow you then to have more dice in play at any given time. You're also going to be building up this little city area over here, and this area is going to be a way that you can score points, activate these buildings as you build them, and do a variety of in-game effects, which are kind of cool. You've got these 3 tracks over here, of which you're going to score points for the 2 of your lowest tracks. So you're going to ignore the highest track. So if I had a situation like where I was at 23 and 7 and 3, the 23 would not do me any good. It would be the 7 and 3 that would score. So that's kind of cool. I like how you have to bring up your cabooses, so to speak, to get your scores. And they also give you cards depending on how you're taking the action, which help you at a certain point in the game. Sometimes they say, like, for instance, this was this: every time you attack using this thing, this chart, so to speak, you gain a victory point for each of your red citizen dice that you have. So that helps you get more points out of this track, for instance, as long as you hold that card. And you could lose that card throughout the game, depending on what happens. You have places where you can buy more citizens for wisdom. You have the encounter area, which is really the meat and potatoes of the game, which I'll demonstrate at length when you see the turns. And then you have your offer for your buildings. You have these discs that you can take when you build your tower, or your palace tower, pardon me. And you're going to be, this is basically like a way to do multipliers for these dice you're going to put in these seats of power, so to speak, that allow you to score big points at the end. There's pattern, oh wow, that came out in a random way, very much leaning towards orange. But there is a pattern on these cards which help you to build these, or it kind of pushes you to build a pattern of buildings in those ways so that you can put seats of power there, score points once you have that pattern, and you know, that's one of the main, a main way to score a decent amount of points in the game as well. And finally, you've got your resources, which are over here in the pool, and the resources in this game are wisdom, stone, grain, and gold, where gold acts as a wild. So that's basically what you're seeing over here. One thing you're not seeing very clearly from where you are is that these have dice, and I don't even know, I want to make sure you can see that, but basically they have dice faces on them as well. And as you use those encounter spaces, these are going to increase. And the main mechanic of the game is you have to at least meet or exceed this value here with the freeman that you put out in order to take the action up there. And if you don't, you have to pay wisdom to make up the difference. And every time you go there, it's going to raise the value by 1, or every time the bot activates it, it's going to raise the value by 1, making it harder to go there each and every turn. However, as your dice come back, they also will gain an experience and go up by 1. So it's not a complete just runaway train on you. Your dice do build up over time, and there's other ways you can increase them as well. So that is an overview of what you're seeing here. Now let's go ahead and demonstrate a couple of turns with the UFOBot and myself, so you can kind of get a feel for what this game is about. Okay, we're going to begin here with round 3. So this is roughly the middle of the game. I'm using a white die to count the rounds. The game goes 5 rounds. None of the ending conditions apply if you're playing the solo player. And so let's get started. You can see that I've unlocked a couple more of my dice. And he's got a couple things going on so far. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to probably use one of my 6s, which allows me to get all the action spaces in the encounter spot. And I'm going to do that, though, first with the blue. So a couple things. I told you about the fact that you have to have the same number or higher to be able to activate the spots. The one exception is your Archon here. He can basically, he counts as any number of numbers, I guess I would say infinite number, right? So he always unlocks. He just ignores it. I shouldn't say infinite number because he ignores the number and just automatically activates the situation. And actually, I realized that in order to do what I'm trying to do, I probably need to get my hands on some resources first and get some stone. So I'm going to play this 5 instead right here. This is a 5, so it's good. I'm going to get 3 stone out of the bank over here, probably off camera for sure. So I get the 3 stone. I up this to a 6, and that's my end of the turn there. Then I roll all of these, and the 1 is the lowest. So we move 1 space on this alien track, and I'm assuming, or the UFO track, I'm assuming it is going to skip this blank space. I don't know if that's really the case or not. It sure looks like it. I don't know what it would do there. So skipping that, going here, he's going to acquire a die. And he wants to acquire a die with the priorities over here. So first he's going to look for one that he could pair up, all right, which would be something. So let's just see. So it says, if possible, choose a color with at least 1 unpaired building. Well, we've got a paired building already. Then it says, if still multiple options, choose the color if the color it has more tower pieces of. Well, I could choose the purple since it's got 3 tower pieces there. We set it there, and then we keep the number 4, even though I just bungled it. And then we grab another purple, and we roll it, and there we go. That's the end of his turn. Okay, so then on my turn, now with some of those stones here, I think it's time for me, let's see, that doesn't help again. So this game does present a decent amount of choices that are crunchy, and I know some people don't like the word crunchy. What I really mean is it makes you think. You got to consider things, the timing of everything. So I wanted to build a building, but right now I'm not in a good spot to do so because I don't have a lot of wisdom tokens, so that's not going to help me. However, what I really need to do is seize one of these Zodiac cards over here. I've had my eye on it for a while, so I'm going to use the 6. Now the special thing about the 6, so we increase that, is it gets to use both of those gray top actions over there. Plus, if it matches the bonus, like this one does, I get to use the bonus tile as well. And I forgot, I didn't use the bonus when I took my 3 stones, so I actually get to acquire this. Okay, so in any order, I'm going to first take the 3 wisdom, because why not? I need those for choosing the best building that I need here. I'm going to pay 1 stone to move up twice on this track right here. So 1, 2. And when I do that, because I use that action, I get to take the Scorpio card, which says every time you close a district or have at least or have to add at least 1 to a value 6 citizen, gain wisdom. Well, I'm going to have a couple of 6 citizens coming up here, so I really wanted to get that card. So I did that. And then I also get to do 1 food to build any building. Perfect. I'm going to spend this 1 food. I'm going to look at the buildings I could build. I'm trying to get the mirror image of this pattern right here, which is why I was hoping to do this. However, it's not really helping me for what I'm doing because this is 3 stone. I only have 2, so I'm a little out of luck. So I can get the off color here, and in the case of that, probably the best thing for me to do is probably get this Sacred Place over here. It's cheap, no big deal, so I spend 2 stone, no wisdom, get the Sacred Place, and when you place the building, you immediately can activate it. It says gain 3, 6, or 10 points for having 1, 2, or 3 Zodiac cards. Well, I have 1, so let's gain the 3, like so. All right, so my turn's done there. Now we roll his dice. Looks like we got the 1 orange going, so we're going to move the orange up. So it adds a 6 right now. Now it returns to a 1, breathing a sigh of relief into using that space, making it easier. And he goes 1, and this question mark die means he's going to focus on his sheet with one of these focus actions, and it's going to go according to the die. So it was an orange, so he's going to get another die. And since, again, he's got the most towers over there, and he's got paired up buildings, he's going to take this one again, all right, with a 2. So that's going to be a lot, probably, from a scoring standpoint. This is probably going to be a real big needle mover for him. Okay, so his turn is done. Back to me now. And I'm going to maybe build another building. No, whoops, I forgot. When I did this, I was supposed to slide all of these up. Take this blue building, which is what I built, put it on the bottom. Okay, all right, so I could use a bit more stone, and the issue is I basically need stone to build buildings. So why don't I do this? Why don't I take this guy? Yeah. I've changed my mind. I'm going to put this 5 here. The 5 is one of these special speakers, they call them. By the way, the theme in this game is a bit pasted on. So, I mean, you're not really feeling it, but it's okay, whatever. All right, so anyway, the 5 lets me choose one of these, not the bonus. I'm going to choose the take 3 stone action because I need to build some more buildings. That's kind of what I'm focusing on. All right, and then my turn is done. This moves up. We roll him. It's either a 4 red or a 4 purple. Well, in order of ties, we go with the 4 red. All right, so this moves 1 up here. And now we move 1, 2, 3, 4. It is the military track. He is going to move up 1 space in the military track. And if he was in front of me, he would actually penalize me points. The one thing about this active bot solo is that if you ever drop to 0 points when he is penalizing you for points, you automatically lose the game. You start at 15. I've been pretty lucky in the way it's gone so far. I've gained a lot of points through the military track, and I'm not in danger, I think, of losing anything. But it is tough to gain points in other tracks throughout the game. You know, this is probably the easiest way to do it during the game, followed by some buildings, because you don't gain these points till the end. And sometimes these cards can help, but everything else, these making the pattern can help, but a lot of other things wait till the end. So I like that little bit of attention they put in. Okay, so we did his stuff. Now I'm going to use this 6 in this spot. I get the 3 wheat or food, or however you want to look at it. All right, taking those off board here. And that gives me 4, not quite enough to unlock that next seat, but that's okay. It is a 6, so I get to use everything, plus I have a blue, so it's a bonus, and I gotta remember to move this. It specifically says in the rules to move that first, and I'm sure it's because people forget to move it. Okay, so now I have my pick of the litter, and what I really want to do is probably get this, because again, I need to get 2 purples to get this pattern going, the mirror image of said pattern. So let's go ahead and do that. That's going to cost me those 3 stone, plus 2 wisdom. All right, and before I forget, we're going to do this immediately. Now it says, gain 3 points for each color among your freemen. Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 points. I'm sorry, 4 different colors among my freemen. So that is 12 points. That's a really good building for me. So that's going to put me up to 42. That's huge. All right. So sometimes it pays to have that variety, as I did right there. Okay, rolling for him now. The 3. So yellow goes up, goes from 6 to a 1. 1, 2, 3. We're going to specialize in yellow dice. Yellow dice says take more tower stuff. So I've already exhausted the purple. The tiebreakers go around. Basically, we'll say take the one that's least available if you don't have anything else. So I'm going to take another orange there. All right, and so we've got that tiebreaker. So you could also be pulling orange dice now if you wanted to, and start to score big on that. His turn's done. I've got 2 more actions here. At a minimum, I also have these tiles, which I got from attacking earlier, allow me to take 2 turns back to back, which is actually not bad considering the situation of the game sometimes. But what I really want to do is try to move more up on these tracks here if I can pull it off. I have a bunch of food and 1 wisdom, which doesn't help me too much in that endeavor. The other thing I could do is I could pepper in some of that. You know what? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy, the Archon, move him here, turn it to 6, and I'm going to take the spend food to increase my dice value or make moves on this board. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 to make moves or attacks. So that's going to go 1, 2, 3. The reason I'm doing that is I want to get across this threshold to make my attack stronger and to get more of these tokens that let me do more turns throughout the game right away, as I will do right now. So before he moves or does anything, I'm going to spend this to take an immediate turn so that I can perform an attack, and that is going to be placing this over here. Now this is a 2. It doesn't match, so I don't get the bonus, but I do get to do the move and attack. So I'm going to move and I'm going to attack. I get a gold for that. Plus, I get 1, 2, 3, and 4 points because he's behind me. So that's 4 more points. Whoops. Luckily I remembered I was on 42. Okay. And then I'm going to let him take his last turn here. Boom. It's going to be a 1 spot on the purple. So he's going to jack the purple up 1, then he's going to take 2. Now this is the unfortunate thing for me. He moves 1, 2 because he's furthest behind that track. He's going to take this back, which is really lousy because that is right when I was going to add my 1s to 6s and get some wisdom. So that was really bad timing on my part. So the round is over. When the round is over, his dice come back over here. I bring this guy back. He's a 5. He no longer increases. I have to roll. He goes to a 4. These cards are passed out in order of whoever's the highest. He is the highest at all of them, so he keeps those cards. And each of my dice comes back, but I increase it by 1 when I bring it back home. The 6s basically remain 6s. They open up those little seats over there, and then they go into this advisor spot to score me points at the end of the game. Ultimately, that's really a rough move. I mean, you just get some points, but it's just unfortunate because you basically lose action tokens, as you can see here, and then your really strong dice go away. So it's a way that you don't continue to get super, super powerful, and the game doesn't spiral out of control until the last turn. The last round is just tons and tons of thing. Everybody's got 12 dice, and it takes forever to do it. So I like why they did that. It makes sense. It's just unfortunate. Those are my good dice. Okay, so now we're in round 4. He clears this out, and we would go through another round, and then the game will be over. So you get the gist of what's going on here. I think that helps you to see how this bot move around the board. It's relatively simple, even though these icons take some getting used to because there's a lot of conditions behind them. I do agree with the way the rules say that after your first game or so, halfway through your first game, you're basically going to be able to use this to determine what the bot does. Maybe not the first, all the way, but it does become more self-explanatory as you play it out. And I already think I probably have been missing some of these UFOBot bonus effects now that I just look at it, because I haven't been taking into account some of those bonus effects. So if I did miss any there when I selected dice, I apologize, and I'm just still getting used to the UFOBot. So my mistake. But you get the gist. You understand what it's like. Now let me tell you what I think about it. But before I tell you what I think about it, let me demonstrate a couple of moves or talk about them that I didn't take. First of all, if I had finished this pattern out there, I could have scored points based on the first time I completed the most points. That would have been good. That would have also given me a gold. I basically just say that I have done that by closing a district. And what I do is I have to take one of my die and I have to basically move it off the board and put it onto here, okay? That die allows me to reactivate any of these that match the exact color. So if I put a purple die here, for instance, I would be able to do a purple move again. I'd be able to redo this building. And it also would help score points. It would give me the number of pips on here times the number of little towers I have built here. To build the tower, I have to spend gold in order to buy towers from over there. And you basically spend 1 gold per tower disc you have already available or already purchased. You'll start with 1 in the game. So that is a multiplier. Let's say I had 6 blue pips worth of dice over here, and I had 2 of these. It'd be 6 times 2 is 12, and that'd be 12 points at the end of the game. So you didn't see any of that, but basically that is a bigger part, or a part of how that works. You didn't see me grow population, but as a turn I could have discarded, at this point, 6 food to get another one of these little pedestals for the dice to sit. But besides that, you really saw the most of what I was doing, which is, the encounters, and also, when you don't want to do anything else, the final thing you could do is just pass. But you got the idea of the meat and potatoes of the actual gameplay. All right. So the other thing I realized is that I did not slide this down 1 when I finished the round, which I should have. When you do the end of round, you fall back to this little spot right here. The bot does not. He stays where he is unless you want to reduce the difficulty. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about what I think. Okay, so that should give you a pretty good overview of how the active solo bot works in this game. Again, there is a beat your own score, very passive kind of solo mode you can play right out of the rule book, but I think the active one is where most people are going to find themselves after a couple of plays. So what do I think about the game? First of all, I don't think there's a ton of new novel concepts here. That doesn't mean there isn't some new types of choices, which I do appreciate. The idea of dice worker placement as they get stronger has been seen in other games, but yet here it still feels new, it still feels good. It does not feel like it's been overdone or overwrought in other games that have a similar type of mechanic. I like the difficulty of the timing of the choices, of the constraints and the angst of I need a little bit more wisdom to try to get that die there. Do I want the bonuses? I also like the fact that this game, like any good Euro game, usually encourages you to focus, but yet the way the game works and the way the dice work and everything's being spread out, it distracts you and pulls you away from that focus to try to maximize your moves. But the moves may not, you might win the battle on that move, but you may not win the war, as was very evident when I got crushed by the solo bot. And I got crushed because I did not play very well. I don't think the solo bot was particularly unfair. I also went back and tried to fix those lack of bonus actions and basically penalize myself as best I could to try to make it like an accurate representation of what the solo bot would do. But I got pretty well trounced, and that's good. That means that I have a lot to learn and explore about this game to kind of figure out, where I can do much better. That being said, maybe this game is one where if you want to win, you do have to min-max a considerable amount in one spot, or another and avoid certain things. And that might be okay too. I haven't figured that out yet. But that might be a turnoff for some people if that is actually true. And I don't know if it is. But it's one of those things you could definitely tell, like for instance, the Zodiac tracks. If you spent all your focus on those, you could tell you're going to get a lot of points out of them. I don't think you could spend all of your focus on those. But you might be able to get a ton of points out of those because at the end of those tracks, they go up 40, 50, 60, 70. So that's 10-point jumps. And if you can get all the way up there where you have, you know, your bottom two in some of those pretty high numbers, that's a lot of points. Heck, that's more points than I scored, you know, in my game doing all this other stuff. So it's obvious that there is that possibility here. That's not, I don't think I'm blowing anything there, just looking at those tracks and seeing how that the scoring plays out. Now, that being said, I didn't score very well on them at all, but that's because I think I didn't focus as much as I could have over there. I usually like to try to dabble in some buildings and closing some districts and things like that. And that ultimately is fun, but I'm not sure that I'm not doing it nearly effectively enough to pull off a very big score when I do that. That being said, I think there's a lot to discover here. The solo bot is great. It gives you the same kind of feel of some of the other David Turtzi's solo bots with dice. I'm thinking of games like Tikanu or Tarantitsu. No, I can't remember Tawantitsuyu. Sorry, I had to look over my shoulder to read it. You know, that kind of feel where you've got to learn a little bit of a different system in order to play it, but it does reward you when you do that. So I think this is a keeper for me. I'm looking forward to exploring it for a while. There's a lot of difficult decisions in it. There's some angst. There's a good dose of European, you know, classic feel to this game. The theme is pasted on. I mean, just absolutely pasted on. Didn't really do one way or another for me on that one. That's okay. I don't really care. Me and the necessary elements of theme kind of divorced many years ago, and I play a game for the mechanics and the strategy, not so much the theme. Although it is nice to have a theme every now and then, especially in a heavy, rich story kind of game like the Eldritch Horrors. But this is not that kind of game. Doesn't matter. I don't care what we're doing. I guess I'm semi-glad we're not building another castle, but at least, you know, with a little bit of a space theme, I mean, you're still building a town, I guess. But the point is that it's a great Euro game, and if you like Euro games, you like solo Euro games, this one's going to be good for you to dive into. I think you're going to like it. A little bit off-putting. I had to print out some of the components for that. I guess it's just because it didn't quite make it in the box. Oh well, at least it was available when I bought the game right away, which I appreciate. So that's fantastic. They got it done, at least in that time frame. All right, folks, so I hope that helped you understand if this game is for you or for not from a solo perspective. Whatever you play in the future, I hope you have a great time doing it, and have a good one, everybody. Thanks.